Hey, and welcome back to the Big Give. We are so excited today because one of the things we're doing is getting different perspectives of Duke 15Q. And we have a really, really big treat for you because one unique perspective that we talk about, but I think we don't dig into quite enough is how Duke 15Q affects the siblings of what we call a duper. So welcome, Mikaela Burke. Mikaela, do you want to introduce yourself and introduce your duper? How you
Yeah,
know your
sure.
duper?
So my name's Mikaela Burke. I'm 18 years old, and I have a 16-year-old brother who has duplication 15q syndrome, and his name is Brenden, and he's one of my best friends, and
Oh,
he's inspired me to become a future special ed teacher.
wow. You know, I think let's just jump right into that. I guess actually let's talk about what was life like growing up with Brendan. And he sounds so fantastic. And I've obviously seen so many pictures from your mom. What was life like for you as a sibling growing up with him?
Yeah, growing up, me and my siblings always kind of knew there was something a little different about Brendan, but of course, like that didn't change the way like we loved him and stuff. But I remember at a young age, I got very worried about him, and I actually saw a counselor at school. I think it was around first grade, just because that's when I started to kind of like understand,
Yeah.
like, oh, B has Duke 15Q, and this is what it is. And
Uh,
even though he was doing well and was healthy, I was young and I was like a little scared, but it's
sure.
been amazing growing up with him and just seeing how he's impacted our family. Just because not
Yeah.
everyone, has a sibling with Duke 15Q, and it's amazing how much they just impact your daily life and family.
Now, when you go and you talk to other families who maybe you go visit a friend who has neurotypical siblings, what do you notice is different about your family from the sibling perspective? What's different about the Burke family with having Brandon in the picture?
I don't know. I would just say I think it's really, really bonded us closer
Mm,
together. And I can just tell a huge difference in specifically my brother who's in eighth grade. I feel like he's much more mature than a
mm.
lot of people his age and just a lot more like caring. Not saying that like people aren't caring in his
Yeah,
grade, but like
yeah.
you can just tell we've all just have very big hearts. And I think it's just because Brenden has just like impacted us in such an amazing
Wow.
way.
That gives me chills because I'm just thinking here's Brendan. He does not realize what an impact he's made on your
I
family.
know.
Do
It's
you think he
crazy.
does? Let me ask you that. Do you think he does? Because he's clearly, I mean, he clearly is part of the family and active, and you guys have just said, hey, we're pushing through and he's gonna do what we're doing. So do you think he knows how special he is to you guys?
Um, he definitely knows a little, but I'm not sure if he like fully knows how much. But specific, like recently, when I would like visit home from college, like he would always be smiling and stuff. And I
Of
think
course.
he's like trying to tell me like I know you missed me, like I
Oh
know
my
you love
gosh.
me, and just I think he can tell a little. Like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be so hard because you're in college and you leave and he's probably thinking, where did she go? And then here you come back. So it's such an interesting dichotomy. Talk about the hard stuff for a second. What was the hard part about being the sibling of a child with extra needs? Not even just Duke 15, but for anybody who may watch this who has a sibling with special needs or a child, two children with and one's neurotypical. What was the hard part for you?
I would say the hard part was definitely watching him have seizures and just struggle because I remember there was a time in life where I was really upset because I would notice Brendan would like struggle trying to like take a cap off of a water bottle or just something basic that, like we all take for granted of doing. And I just remember that made me so like upset for him. But then I forgot who told me, but I was talking to someone about that, and they were like, honestly, Brendan is just, he's living his life. He's in his own world doing his own thing, and he is happy. And it's just the little things like he doesn't even realize, like, he's just
Love that.
so happy. And I just think I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But I would also say I just remember growing up, especially when I was younger, and I think my siblings can agree with this, just like going in public would be a little hard sometimes,
Mm.
just because Brenden would like hit, or sometimes he would like wander off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um one of the funny things, I mean, I don't know if I should be laughing, but when Brenden was younger, and he still kind of does this, if he's at a restaurant, sometimes he'll just like go up to a random table and just like take someone's fries or something.
Or
Like,
apples. I know he loves his
yes,
apples.
oh, he loves his
I love
apples.
that.
Loves, loves,
I
loves.
told your mom you guys need to get an apple tree. I was like, that needs to be
That's smart, honestly.
that should be his Christmas gift.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't believe we've never thought of that.
that would be amazing.
Hmm.
That's interesting because I was on one of the SIB shops and one of the middle schoolers was talking about that it can be tough when you're out in public and especially
Oh
middle
yeah.
school age and you're like trying to be cool or whatever, especially if you're in a smaller town, and not knowing how to react. How did your family handle that when you guys were kids? Did you guys talk about how to react? Did you guys just talk openly about things like that concerned you? And you don't have to necessarily share your own family experience as much as
Mhm.
just like what do you advise?
Yeah, I don't know, because we've always been like very open with each other,
Mm,
like when it comes to Brenden, just like talking about how we
good.
feel, like how he's doing. And so our mom just kind of like explained to us, like, Brenden may do different things in public that, like you or your peers like wouldn't do, but that's just the way he is, and there's no problem with that. And because I remember, like, because when you're young, like, you're like embarrassed almost. And I feel like a lot of kids may be going through that right now if they're watching this, some young kids. And it is okay, but one day you will realize, like, it does not matter what these strangers out in public are thinking about, like,
Yeah,
about you or your sibling. Like, honestly, you just learn to like love it, like
yeah,
everything that they do, and just
yeah,
embrace it.
yeah. I just have like chill bumps every time you say something like that because I think that the problem probably is neurotypical people are not trained and taught what to do when they see someone with different abilities. And I know for me in this job, it has really changed my perspective on like how many times have I said the wrong thing to my child and now I feel like I'm really have learned from the community. Yeah, speak to the child in the wheelchair, go over and say
Hmm.
hello, even if they cannot speak back. Or
Right.
it sounds like what I'm hearing from you is you guys were pretty open as a family, and that kept things healthy for you all, to know what's happening, maybe know why you sometimes. I mean, I hear from kids that I want to be the center of attention, and every 5-year-old does. Do you remember a time in your life where that was a struggle of like, I know he has to get the attention, but I want it. And if so, how did you deal with that as a sibling?
I honestly don't really think there was a time where I felt like I didn't have any attention or anything, because I have three siblings, including Brenden. So there's four of us, and I feel like we were pretty good at understanding, like,
Good.
he's gonna need like extra help, and that's totally okay. Because I think a big part of it was that we helped out a lot with B2 when we were
Yeah.
younger, so it was almost like
Hmm.
a teamwork thing. It's like we're getting like attention too because we're helping him too, like, in a way, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Is there one piece of advice that you haven't mentioned that you would give parents who may be watching this and maybe they've got a 3-year-old and a newborn and they're like, we want to make sure, like, let's say the 3-year-old's has just been diagnosed with Duke. What would be, do you have a best advice on how you guys were brought up and what really worked for you that you haven't shared yet?
honestly, I may have touched on this a little, but I think it's really just a teamwork thing.
Mm,
And like we kind of said before, just being open about it, because I don't know, it's never good to bottle things in. And I feel like for the parents, it's good to just like tell your child like everything about their sibling, because I think they
love
deserve to
that.
know. And it's like then they won't be questioning it, and then they'll be fully aware of why is my brother doing this, or like why is he
Yeah.
going here, just so they're like fully aware and they feel like more connected.
I love that. I think that's such great advice. And you talked about going into special ed. Wow, we need more and more special ed teachers. So I commend that path for you. I have a pretty good suspicion that Brenden has helped create that path for you. Was there a point you remember being like, that's what I'm going to do? Do you kind of remember that moment?
Well, ever since I was younger, I've always known I'd wanted to be a teacher. And then I think it was definitely like freshman or sophomore year of high school where I was like, wow, like I was spending a lot of time with B at the time, like after school and stuff. And I was like, I just like love like
This is it.
just being
Yeah.
around him and like working with kids like him. And then junior and senior year of high school, I took a class called Theater Communications. And this class, it was where you helped work on projects with the special ed students.
Yeah.
And it was so fun working with them. And I fell in love with that class. It was easily my favorite class. And that's when I was definitely like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Oh my goodness, what a calling! What a calling it is. Is
Mhm.
there anything I haven't asked you that if maybe a younger sibling's watching and going, this is so hard? Is there anything I haven't asked you that you may want to share?
Hmm. For younger sibling.
What about the SIB shops? Have you sat in on one of our SIB shops?
Yes, I've been a part of the SIB shops a couple of times, and I love them because I think it's so cool how like everyone with like a sibling or like a loved one with Duke 15Q who has a loved one with Duke 15Q can like come together, and you just like all relate, and it's almost like so reassuring because you're like, huh, like their family's a little different too. Like they're doing things
Yeah,
a little different too. And like it's just so
yeah,
cool hearing other people's like stories about their siblings and how they do things. And it's almost just like you feel like you have like a shoulder to like lean on because it's like
yeah.
there's other people in your position too. And it's just refreshing to hear that there's other people going through that.
Absolutely. The few I've been on to, I just love that the kids were so open about like some of the
Yeah.
yucky feelings that came with it, like the honest feelings of sometimes wanting the attention or sometimes being in
Hmm.
public, like you mentioned, and going, I don't know what to do. I just saw my best friend and now I don't know how to handle it. They saw my sister have a seizure and what do we do? And
Hmm. It's just
um
such a safe place, I think,
I
which
love that.
is what they need. Because, I mean, I don't know many other places where you'll get together with a bunch of people who have a sibling with Duke 15Q. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And it just kind of dawned on me too that like the parents love that about conference, meeting other parents. And so we want to encourage the parents to think the siblings need that too. They want to connect with other people whose homes are like theirs or that are can understand what they may be dealing with. So when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's the connection for the parents to understand why that's so important. Well, and lastly, you took your advocacy to another level when your school got involved in a fundraiser. Talk about that a little bit in case there's a sibling going, I feel really comfortable. I feel like we've been open and talked as a family, but what can I do to get involved? So talk about your fundraising efforts.
Yeah, so sophomore year, our school, Maine South High School, they do school-wide fundraising club, and every year the school nominates a charity, and for the whole entire year the whole school comes together and fundraises for it, and it's so amazing. So me and my friends decided to nominate Duke 15Q our sophomore year, and my sister was a freshman at the time too, so both of our groups like rallied together to like get
Awesome.
everyone to vote. We made posters all around the school to vote for it, um and it got nominated, and it was amazing. I couldn't tell you the exact amount again, but I think we raised around 60,000.
It was a lot of money. It was a
Or
lot.
yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
around there. And it was just so cool too, because not a lot of people know what Duke 15Q is, but
Yeah.
for the whole school to be able to like like understand and then come together to raise money for it. It was so cool. And
Yeah,
it
that's
was
amazing. Thank you so much for what you've done. And I think what a good way to get involved as a sibling, because you're getting to educate people, but you're not just educating them on Duke 15, but you're also getting to educate them on what we talked about, like what do you do about when you see someone with extra needs? How do you respond to them? Like, there's such a teaching opportunity with that.
Mhm.
So thank you. And if anyone's watching who wants to do a fundraising event or do something modeled after this, please let us know. We'd be happy to help you set that up. And I mean, I think it was upward of, I was thinking it was almost $100,000 from what I remember. So
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the exact number, but it was
crazy
up
amount of
there.
money. I mean, that is huge. That makes a
Mhm.
huge impact on what we can do as an organization. So,
Of
well, Mikaela, thank you so much. Thanks for spending some time with us and
course.
fresh out of your freshman year. And we can't wait to see what you're going to do. And maybe one day you'll work with the Alliance and
Maybe.
we'll let your
Yeah.
mom have a day off.
True.
So, Mikaela, thank you. And for everyone watching, thank you so much. And we will be back shortly.